Okay, so I went down to Lee Valley Tools after work today and I picked up this. It's a bigger Cove routing bit. This one is a 1/2 inch. I looked at the 3/4 to shape this and it just looked too big and the profile didn't look really right. This looked much closer, even though I know the other size is physically closer to what I expected. I think that this will yield the result that I'd much rather have. From what I saw when I was holding up my my panel, or my test panel, against the side there, it looked like it needed about another 1/8 of an inch, which is almost exactly what this gives. So I'm going to try this one out and we'll see how it goes. I realized that I don't need this other blank I made yesterday. I could just route this one out because there's certainly is more than enough meat left here. You know, I didn't take didn't take more out with the previous pass. I also went and I picked up a whole bunch more of these clamps because I seem to need them. I already broke one of these other ones, these blue ones. Anyways, enough rambling. Let's. Oh, I also picked up a impact socket set that was on sale with the intention of modifying this 13mm one to work with those bits. It's actually, you know, for what is a deep well socket, the shank doesn't actually go very far into here. There's about that much space in the middle of this one that is nothing. So clearly these guys, when they meant deep well, it means it goes into a deep well, not that it'll go over something deeply. Anyways, let's get this going. I'll show you the results of this and we'll try some more hammer forming here. Okay, so here's my experiment. You can see the profile. The profile still isn't quite as deep, and it's the curve is right, but it actually needs to come back about 1/8 of an inch, but I think I'm okay with that. It's not taking into account the metal width, so it actually ends up being less than 1/10 of an inch, so I think I'm okay with that. So here's my test blank. I've clamped it thoroughly. Oops, I clamped it thoroughly. And I'm just debating whether or not I want to try just bring the profile of that closer, or if I want to go straight to wherever my power hammer is over there and just try and just bang it in right along there and see how that goes. I think for the hell of it, I'm going to just try the bang it in method with the air hammer and see how that goes. Regardless, I really want to try and adapt this, but I might just try it. Try a preliminary run with it the way it is, with that other old socket in there. I'm also not particularly happy. I turned this piece in here, but because it's not hardened, it was starting to mushroom in the use that I'd given it. Like, it had actually expanded the end inside the gun by about 1/10 and had gotten it to the point where it almost didn't want to come out anymore. So it might not be a terrible idea to actually go and modify the shank of an existing one of these that is hardened, and then just sort out how to mount this on there, like pin it on or something like that. We will see. I'm still going to try it a bit with this way. We'll see how it goes. Okay, there's the new shank, and sacrifice to the metal shaping gods was one socket and one whatever the hell kind of chisel that is. I wasn't too happy with this thing. Like I said before, this end was mushrooming and it was getting hard to remove from the machine. I actually had to knock this one out. So, and this is all chewed all to hell as well. Anyways, this was just some cheap Chinese socket from a kit that I had for who knows how long, probably 30 years. Anyways, so I'll probably pause you guys for a while, set up, and we'll see if we can't do something with this. May just wrap just a little bit of tape around this just so it'll stay in there. But at some point I'm going to have to come up with a little bit smarter retention method. The easiest thing I could think of would be to cut a slot that corresponded roughly to this location and then just have like a spring or something around it to kind of hold it in place, like a piece of spring wire or something like that. Anyways, I'll give it some thought and come up with a good idea, I'm sure. Okay, so here goes nothing. I got to brace it against the table here. This isn't an ideal situation. I thought about instead of using clamps, using a bunch of screws around this inner edge here, but I wasn't even sure that they would hold. So I figured I'll go with the clamps. They will need to be periodically tightened. I also thought about using a flat head on here. This is an experiment. This isn't the final version. This is going to be the final version here. So this is another experiment. Well, it's doing impressively little. I may have to think about this again. I might have to just beat this over with a hammer like I did yesterday and come back and try this again to try and form it into the fillet. So I'll pause you guys while I do that because it's not convenient to do it right here, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so I've hammered this over, and if you can see there, it's heavily stretched in there, and my top form is actually cracking on me. So unfortunately, some of that is actually due to the fact that where I had to rest it on the edge of a tabletop, and that's actually where it's splitting along. But we're still going to try. We're going to see how we go here. I got my other blank there, you know, over off the screen where you couldn't even see me gesturing. So we'll see if this works. If this works, then I'll make the new one tomorrow, and we'll try this again. So, got my adapter all ready to go. Oh, actually, I was going to wrap some tape around that, but no, I wasn't too worried about it for that little bit I did it there. So, let's get this in place here. You guys can see me on camera, and we'll try and chase this around. I must admit, this isn't having quite as strong an effect as it did when I was actually just using a hammer and a hammer to knock this round point or bullet nose chisel in. I might have to go back to that because this doesn't seem to be really doing a lot. I'm hopeful that this will be a useful way to do finish work, but it doesn't seem to be particularly useful for getting it started at least. We'll go at it for a little while and we'll see it happens, but if not, I'm going to have to go back to the old hammer and chisel method of this. Feel that it's impressing into there, but it's god awfully slow. So I'm going to turn you guys off again, and I'm going to go back to using this unit in a chisel handle, and I'll use a hammer to chase it around there until I got it almost in shape. Then I'll use this for finish work. I think that's probably what this really is going to end up being used for. But it seems to be holding together okay. So, some success there. Okay, so that's as far as I can go tonight with this. I broke my top portion of the pattern here. And I'm not particularly impressed. It doesn't look as good as the other one ended up turning out. So this deeper radius makes a big difference. I also probably should have trimmed this back on the top edge a bit more. But nonetheless, and you can see all the marks from the clamps that kept slipping off every 2 seconds there. And kind of looks like a bag of marbles from this side. So it definitely needs some smoothing. Now it may just be that, you know, if I had some way of like almost like a way to roll the inside of this here, it would look better. But yeah, it looks pretty horrendous. This is not symmetric here because the metal shifted that way when I was mounting it and I never bothered to correct it. So that's not as wacky as it looks. But nevertheless, it's not quite what I wanted. The metal is, if you could actually see it on the camera, not as visibly thinner around here where it was heavily stretched. So, and this thing was particularly ineffective. I think it did an okay job at shining things up after the fact, but it was useless to stretch the metal in the first place. I ended up taking this ball peen hammer here and doing a lot of the stretching with it because the contour of that, the ball end is actually very close to the curve that we got in there. So I got to think about this some more and see if I can think of a little bit better way of doing this, and go from there. Because I'm kind of, you know, I know what I can do to improve things. First off, knock a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch off the top of this, and then there isn't that much metal at the top that's, you know, buggering things up when I'm trying to stretch it, right? Next thing is this was cracked when I started, so if I could have kept going, and undoubtedly it would have ended up looking a lot better. Anyways, this is just all sorts of experimentation here. You can see, you know, like it didn't look at all the walnuts. it wouldn't look. It's got the approximate profile of what I want it to be. I imagine it would, you know, if I was a little bit less fussy, which I'd have to be a lot less fussy. Yeah, let's just hold on a sec, guys. I'm just gonna you can look at the rim for a second, the hub for a second there. You know, it would go in there and would be okay. You can see that there's a fair difference in the depth of the contour is what it is. But some of that is the fact that I've got this piece underneath it. If you actually put it in here, it's about 1/8 of an inch off, which I think I said at the beginning. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 3/16. But I think that's adequate because I'll have, you know, like some measure of compliance in this panel here that I can, you know, afford to move it in. So if I can refine this idea to the point where it actually seems to be working, I think I'll be okay. You know, like, yeah, it's kind of an odd idea. But one of the guys was suggesting that I basically, you know, take one of the chisel shanks and I mount the ball on the end of it, of the radius that I want there, which isn't a terrible idea, although this is close enough where I can chase in there, you know, up and down, and it's not going to be in the way. But I don't think I have any, what it'd be, I guess it'd be a 1-inch diameter ball. So, steel ball that is. So, there isn't much I can do with that right now anyways. Yeah, refining this idea a little bit more. You know, it may just be that I can't do as big a piece as I'm trying to. You know, like maybe what I should be doing is breaking it into segments, like this segment, and then this segment would be one other piece because it's a comparatively, you know, like shallow curve. You know, like there's a lot of curve right up at this end here. So I could always do that separately. Or, well, there actually isn't any ors because there's no patch panels for this car in that location. Not any that I've seen, not any that don't cost $2,100 for a whole new front clip, like literally from this front panel to the firewall. So, and a car just simply isn't worth that much money. Okay guys, that's it for today, and I'll see you tomorrow when I have a better idea.